Yo, what up, people? Welcome to a special late night live edition of the Salty Thoughts Mike Steph podcast featuring the one and only Mike Steph, best in the world at what he does. I chose to come on here. We're still basking in the afterglow of the New York Knicks championship victory. We're definitely glowing in the afterglow of the New York Knicks championship celebration that's going to be ongoing. Dare I say the summer of Knicks, summer of Steph, summer of Knicks, same difference. We are embarking on untapped territory. Never before in the last 53 years have the New York Knicks been world champions. But never before in my 49 years on this earth, 40 years of as basketball watcher, basketball fan, have I seen a team win a championship in dominating fashion, in incredible fashion, in old time fashion, meaning cohesiveness, togetherness, teamwork, friendship, pulling pulling for one another. Never have I seen a team that has done this in this fashion. Stuff that all the all the pundits, all the media pundits want to tell you that that's what they want out of sports. That's what they want out of basketball. That's what they want out of the NBA. You know, it's too much isolation ball, too much of the disease of me, too much of all that. But yet, when you have a team such as the New York Knicks, the New York Knickerbockers, give you, give everyone what they want, what they richly deserve, is being swept under the rug. And I chose to come on here and ask why. Why is that? Why is it that we have idiots such as Vinny Goodwill of Yahoo Sports and of ESPN disrespect not only the New York Knicks, but the New York Knicks, the Denver Nuggets, the OKC Thunder, the whole nine, saying that because nobody has repeated in the last 8 years that the new that the Larry O'Brien Trophy is a participation trophy, which Kendrick Perkins damn sure took him to task for. Hey, what's good? What's good? Um, why is that? Why is that? Like he went down the line saying, well, um, oh, they didn't have to worry about the Detroit Pistons. They didn't have to worry about a fully loaded Boston Celtics. They didn't have to. And I'm like, hold on. Do you know how many NBA champions? Do you know how many NBA, how much NBA history we made? The biggest point differential in NBA playoff history. Winning 15 of 16 playoff games. Winning all four playoff series on the road. And this gets swept under the rug. This gets swept under the rug. Like, I bet if this was LeBron, I bet if this was Steph, I bet if this was Wimby, if Wimbayama, yes, if he won the championship, we would still be toting and touting his greatness over this whole week. Today, tonight, this evening, marks 7 days since the New York Knicks, have raised the Larry O'Brien Trophy. And what did we get? In the national media. New York, listen, we lit on our own. I think this is more of a New York bias, personally. For some reason, everybody feels a certain way when it comes to New York. Everybody feels a certain way when it comes to Jalen Brunson being a superstar, not a 1A. And I know people are probably wondering, like, dude, your team won. Why are you concerned with what the pundits say? Because they're being exposed to me. To me, they're being exposed for what they are, which is more likely, more times than not, paid spokesmen, paid PR for the chosen ones of the league, such as Wimbayama, such as the clutch sports phenomenon. Like, come on. Like, what's going on here? What's going on here? I'm asking. You have Colin Cowherd saying that the New York Knicks going into next year are not even going to be the best team in the East. He said a fully loaded Boston Celtics team that's probably going to pull the trigger for Giannis, which is another thing I'll get to in a minute. OKC is going to be fully loaded. San Antonio is going to be back. You're going to have to deal with Denver. And I'm like, why is everybody so quick to chop our legs off for our celebration? We're not the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA at all. We're not the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA at all. We, if we smelt anything that even looked like relevance, we jumped on it. And we supported our team from bad times and good times. But we don't get that same love in return. And I ask why? Why is that? I was watching tonight a live edition of Roommates, the Roommate podcast with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Loved it. I tell you the truth, I wish I would have known. I don't know if it spurred a moment, a day or two notice, but I wish I would have known. Regardless. And they had a couple guests. Their first guest was Stephen A. Smith, which I'm just like, does this guy ever turn down the opportunity to be in the spotlight? I'm 58 years old, and for 54 years, the Knicks haven't won a championship. I was 4 years old when the Knicks won a championship. Now, thankfully, Josh Hart put him on blast and was like, listen, he got receipts. There was a clip in 2016 talking about the Villanova Wildcat team that ended up winning 2 national championships. And him and Skip Bayless both said that those teams, there were no NBA players on that championship team. None of those players on that championship team was going to have an NBA career. On that screen was Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Pascal, DiVincenzo, the other dude, Adam. We had him on the Knicks for a quick minute. But yeah, about 7. I think the number was 7 players made the NBA roster, had an NBA career. And he was like, "Well, you want to explain this?" Jalen Brunson, 2-time national player of the year. There was a. I'll give Stephen A. credit because he said, "Listen, I was wrong. I said what I said. I was wrong, and I would gladly be wrong again if they win another trophy. So if it takes me being wrong for y'all to win a trophy, because I'm a Knicks fan. I've been a Knicks fan since I was in the womb, before I came out the womb." Which I want to know, like, how were you a Knicks fan before you came out the womb? You could be a Knicks fan when you came out the womb, but how can you be a Knicks fan before you came out the womb? I know, mere semantics, mere bag of shells. But I say all this to say everybody, and this is a quote from the podcast. Everybody is better than Jalen Brunson until it's time to be better than Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has too much class to talk his ish. And I really try to refrain from cursing, so I'm not gonna talk not gonna talk ish in myself. But if that was anybody else in the league dropping 45 in the final clinching game, you would hear from now to the end of time. How much run did Jimmy Butler get for almost passing out in the bubble, playing 48 minutes? How much run did he get with that? He's still getting fame off that. So I don't understand what the reasoning is. You have Cat, who has actually gained so much respect from me. Not that he needed to gain respect from me, but the way he carries himself with such class, and it was asked like, what did he feel was how did he feel when he was asked to shoulder some responsibility, and he was like, listen, I can't. When I came to the team, I told JB, when we were getting to know each other, I told JB, I'm like, listen, I'm here to amplify you. I'm here to help you be the best version of you. And the only thing I ask is this. And he pointed to the trophy. Like, at the end of the day, if we become champions, all the personal statistics, all the personal, numbers mean nothing. And he was so gracious on the fact that he was bestowed that responsibility to run the offense, to be the difference maker that he ended up being. I really think some people might think people are going to get Knicks fatigue. I'm never going to get Knicks fatigue because at the end of the day, the one thing that is true that can never be taken away from them is that the New York Knicks are the champions of the NBA. In the year 2026, the New York Knicks won the NBA championship. You can never say that, never take that away. And they are champions until the next one is crowned. And if they happen to be crowned again, so be it. Great. The more the merrier. But they will never be able to take that away from them. And so for Knicks fatigue, I personally feel that them going on this media tour or this on this round of appearances and so forth. Personally, I believe it's going to bring them even closer together because you already knew that Brunson and Hart were close, and I really believe, especially this year, even though it might have seemed different from afar, I really believe this year it's been apparent that there's a connection between Brunson, Hart, and Cat. Deuce fits in, falls in what he fit in. Bridges, Bridges is the bro, so he's always in the mix. And OG is surprisingly on the low. Yo, what was that? What was that? What who was those? What was the name of that London group, the London branch of Dipset back in the day? That's what I personally think OG is, because OG, he was in days when he was on Good Morning America, and they asked him a question. He was like this: OG, you got anything to say? He was stuck. And then you see the clips of him in the club. He got the hoodie on. He's a sentimental dude. You can tell he's a sentimental dude. But that's I really believe that not only this championship is going to bring them together, there's not going to be any type of egos because at the end of the day, everybody got what they wanted, what they longly, richly deserved, and that was a championship. Not only that, but they will go down in the annals of history as being the players, the individuals that brought the New York Knicks a championship after 53 years. All the big players. KD didn't want the pressure. He wanted to hide out in Brooklyn. LeBron spurned us how many times? He didn't want the pressure. He didn't want to come. He didn't want to come in and do it. And tell you the truth, I don't want him now. I hear this. Oh well, I wouldn't mind having LeBron right now for the repeat. No, no, no. You're not gonna. You're not gonna come and ride on the coattails or try to take over. Nah. And all this, and you see the sabotage starting again. Talking about Giannis would make us a short shot. Stop with the Giannis talk. Stop with the Giannis talk. We do not need Giannis out to the Cooper. We just want a chip without him. He hasn't won a chip since the quasi bubble chip. Yeah, the season where half the season they was played in front of no fans, and then they start. Yeah, to tell you the truth, that championship looks funny in the light my darn self. Yeah, he dropped 50 in a game 6, but okay, he had to go 6 games. JB only had to do 5. How about that? But see how the sabotage is starting. See how the sabotage is starting. But we have all these players who ran from the smoke, and to go down in history is going to be Mike Brown with his corny behind, Jalen Brunson as the captain, and a whole list of players that played their position and played their position well. Like it's amazing. It's amazing how this is gonna go. So Knicks fatigue? No, no. I wonder. I wonder going into next season if the narrative would be different when it comes to MVP talk. Because to me, at least for the last 3 years, Jalen Brunson should have been at least in the top 5 in MVP voting, and he wasn't. But bygones, bygones. He got the one MVP that matters, and that's the MVP of the NBA Finals. Now, since it is late and I'm not really getting that much traction, which don't matter, because listen, it's a Friday night. Tell you the truth, if I wasn't a family man, a blue collar hero to the masses, you know, the original spousal chief, then maybe I would be doing something different on a late Friday night. Maybe I would be in between something on a late Friday night instead of sitting on the couch talking to whoever's out there talking, but whatever. But before I get out of here, and if I catch traction, if somebody wants to ask me a question, then they can ask me a question because it is what it is. News did come out that James Dolan said that the Knicks are accepting the invitation to the White House to see that dude in office. And I was watching Flagrant and Funny with Kerry Champion and Jamel Hill, and they were discussing this, and they was under the opinion that just by the makeup of the New York Knicks lineup, roster, that they would go along to get along. Meaning they wasn't going to ruffle any feathers. They might not want to, but they're just like, it doesn't really matter. Best for us just to get it over with. They were kind of implying that, due to their backgrounds, they're very nonplussed in the political games, the political moves, the culture moves that have been taken away from us over the last year and change under this administration. And it was almost like, well, since His homeboy got a white wife, and and they a lot of them was middle class, and they tried to play it off as Gen Z. That, and I'm like, and I love the ladies. I love those ladies. I love watching their podcasts. I love them when they were media personalities on ESPN. I love what they're doing now. They I wouldn't say move past sports, but they broadened their horizons. So there's no knock. There's no knock whatsoever. But what I didn't really appreciate was kind of insinuating that because they might not be as vocal or as grandstanding as, let's say, LeBron was when he called that dude in office a bum during the first administration, and because they haven't quote unquote publicly taken a stand when it comes to stuff that's been happening, that it was almost like they were being punked or being forced by their owner, which kind of puts them in an awkward position because nobody wants to say, well, they don't come off as militant, but to kind of like pin them against the wall, like, well, out of all these teams that chose not to go to the office, go to the White House during these two administrations, two terms, would it leave a bad taste, a bad mark on the Knicks? And maybe this is a cop out because this is something they spoke about also, about whether or not you can be consistent. Like if you're inconsistent in what you boycott and what you're vocal on, does that detract from the merit that your argument should have? And they did admit that a lot of these sports teams, a large majority of these sports teams owners are in bed with the dude in office. So, that wouldn't be fair just to single out James Dolan. But at the same time, he was one not to read the room to invite dude to game three, coincidentally, the only game we lost in the finals. And we had to sage that place, and it took about a half hour. I mean, a half to kick in the next game. Do I believe that they should get any type of backlash if they do choose to follow through with the visit, especially being the fact that I think everyone but three or everyone but two are African American. One's Puerto Rican and one's white, title-clinching. Um, I don't believe. Okay, I'll say this: should they get backlash for going just to get it over with? I say no. Now, if it comes out that some of these players are supporters, vocal, rabid supporters of the dudes in office, then we can have this discussion at a later time. But just from the outside looking in, just try to put it in terms of, well, do you really expect them to cause a ruckus over this? And then they actually talked about Josh Hart's wife, like, well, knowing his wife, he's going to conveniently have a previous engagement that he can't get into. And I'm like, wow. So, in other words, you're saying he don't got no backbone. He don't have no backbone. He can't say, nah, I ain't going. But based on misses, that decision is going to be up to the misses. And don't get me wrong, when it comes to married couples, I'll only speak to myself, speak about myself. Does my wife, quote unquote, wear the pants in the family? I wouldn't say that. You know, we have a good dynamic. We have a good dynamic as if, you know, She has her opinion. I have my opinion. She'll. I'm like the judge. She's like the judge. And then I'm supposed to be the executioner. But more likely, I'm not really the executioner, I'm the pallbearer. Because it's like they call me in, put it down. Back in the days, my kids are grown now. But at the same time, you know that old saying, a happy wife is a happy life. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Do you want to sleep on the couch? Does Mike Steph want to sleep on this couch right now? If I went against something that my wife truly believed in, and I'm not talking about taking out the dishes, doing the dishes, taking out the garbage. Oh, I don't, I don't like ham. I'm not talking about stuff like that, but I'm talking about things that affect our day to day. Do I really? Sometimes you got to choose your battles. And maybe Josh Hart will choose his battle. Maybe he won't. I don't know. But I just didn't like the fact that it was being insinuated that they go along to get along. They know how to play the game. They know how to play the political game in politics, as in, listen, we know our bread is buttered. We don't want to cause no problem. It's almost like they were saying they were very mild mannered and milk toast. Which I wonder, what does that have to do? Like, maybe I'm mistake. Maybe I'm misspeaking. Does Rick Brunson look like the type of dude that's gonna bite his tongue and just go along to get along? Jalen Brunson, being the fact he's Rick's son, being the fact of the still resolve that he has shown, and he's shown glimpses of, and especially he's shown a lot of his personality the last couple days. Does he look like somebody who's going to do something, go along with something because it's the easy way? Josh Hart, does he look like someone? Matter of fact, call Anthony Towns. For all the grief that he has gotten over the years, does he seem like someone that would be apt to say, you know what, Mr. Dolan wants us to go, so I'm gonna go? I don't think so. I don't know. I feel like especially in these days and times right now with with what's going on in politics, sometimes the answer that you think is the appropriate answer really is the appropriate answer. Sometimes it's all right to say, I don't know. Sometimes it's all right to say, you know what? I got them pegged wrong. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Oh, boy. But it's 2:03. I'm going to get out of here. Please leave a like, subscribe. You know what? How about this? I'm not going to talk about the Knicks right now. I'm going to talk about something else until I get off, right? New York City. My friends, my brethren, do y'all believe, do y'all really believe that this Knicks championship has brought the city together? Do y'all believe that this is like an out of body experience? Meaning, listen, listen to me. 7 days have gone by, and I personally, it still hasn't hit home. Of course, I'm a fan. I'm not a player, but it still hasn't set in that the New York Knicks are champions. No matter how much is in my face, it seems like a simulation. It seems like AI when I see videos, when I see pictures, when I see clips, when I hear monologue. It's everything just it does not seem real. Now my bro Money Mike, he went to the parade, and I believe he said him going, not saying verbatim, but him going to the parade and seeing it with his eyes allowed it to set in. To see thousands upon thousands of Knicks fans, Knicks faithful, in all shades of blue and orange and white. Well, all shades meaning all different types of jerseys and stuff. Sat in, it set in for him. Me, unfortunately, I didn't go to the parade. Do I regret it? No. And I know you're like, oh, what kind of Knicks fan are you? No, I don't regret it because nothing that had it had nothing to do with the parade. It had nothing to do with whatever clips you may see from the parade. Because for the most part, from what I hear, listen, everybody was one big happy family. My daughter went, so that to me that was extension to me. Is it a cheap way out? You're damn right it is. But it was extension to me. But the fact that I was able to witness it in real time, meaning the win, meaning my both highs and lows, or should I say my highest of highs and my lowest of highs, because there were no lows. For me to be able to that night just feel the buzz in the city, how everyone was happy, everyone was ecstatic, everyone just just words can't even explain it. That's what I waited my whole life for from this team. That's what I waited my whole life for from this team. The fact that I'm talking about 7 days later and still can't really figure out is this live, is this Memorex? That's what I was waiting for my whole life. That's why I won't regret. Oh, I didn't go to the parade. Okay, fine. But it was still in the city. I live in the city. I still could feel the energy from the island all the way to BK. I could still just seeing people over the last 2 days with memorabilia from the parade or whatever merchandise that they wore, or just colors that they wore to the parade. Knowing that that was the biggest parade ever in New York City history is solid for me. Solid for me. You know, I will say this. Monday, I went to Bob's Furniture to get a mattress. To get a mattress for my daughter. Right? And long story short, I go and I'm settling up at the register or what have you, the desk, and got my Knicks hat on. He was like, "Oh, you a Knicks fan?" Yeah, I'm a Knicks fan. Like, we're in New York, buddy. He's like, no, he's like, "Oh, you one of those?" I'm like, "One of those what? Knicks fan?" Yeah, I'm a Knicks fan. What are you talking about? One of those? Like, dude, you in the town. So his co-worker, because this is the manager, so the dude that was helping us, which got getting the commission or whatever, he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, he's salty. He a Spurs fan." I was like, "You should give us a discount based on the fact that how bad we beat y'all." But my thing is, I'm older than him. I don't know how old he was, but I know I was older than him. Right? Probably looked like in his mid 30s, early 30s. Might be even giving too much credit. Probably like late 20s, early 30s. How about that, right? So he became a Spurs fan. How? I guess because he wasn't willing to stay in the mud with the Knicks, and the Spurs were winning championships. So he decided to jump on a bandwagon of somebody else. Listen, I'm going to ask y'all a question. And you can leave it in the comments because ain't nobody looking. Ain't nobody watching right now. If you, during the Knicks down years, right, and you still ride or die with them, but because you're a basketball fan and the Knicks were in the playoffs for a lot of those years, you rooted for other teams that, here's the caveat, that were not a rival to the Knicks. Does that detract from your fandom? Does that detract from how you should feel about this championship? I.e., okay, you're a Knicks fan. You've been a Knicks fan for 25 years, right? 30 years. Let's say you've been a Knicks fan for 30 years, right? And let's say in year 25, Knicks hadn't been in playoffs, and you fell in love with OKC. Not this version of OKC, but OKC when they had Harden, Westbrook, and KD. And they weren't rivals of the Knicks. Would that detract from your fandom? I'm asking. How about the player? How about the people who only liked certain players? Someone in particular likes Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson was on the Golden State Warriors. But they were a Knicks fan. And through Klay Thompson, they became a Golden State rooter, a Golden State supporter. And dare I say, a Golden State fan. But not during the glory years of when they went to the finals like 5 straight times. No, 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 no. Right after KD popped his Achilles and Klay tore his ACL. So that means 2019 when they stunk. 2020 when they didn't even get out the play-in. 2021 where they... What did they do in 2021? I don't know. Now, would that detract from someone proclaiming himself to be a Knicks fan? I asked this question seriously because my definition of fandom might differ from anybody else. What up, Ty? What's good? I'm rambling right now, so don't mind me. Glad you chose to show up. Appreciate you, brother. Darn, I got lost. I lost track. I'm tired. I'm sorry, but darn it. This. Ooh, I knew this was gonna get. But anyway, if the reason I asked this is because all right, I remember now. The reason I asked this is because of this. The way I rate fandom is has 3 categories. One, for instance, I'm a Mets fan, born and bred, Mets fan, right? Now, I cannot wear any merchandise from any of my rivals. I cannot root for anybody that's especially in the NL East, but more specifically the NL East, but nobody in the National League. And I can't wear in the American League, cannot, will not, won't do it. Anything Yankee related. Yes, I know Smitty from the group home in Bergen Beach is probably gonna call me a fraud. And back then, that's because I rep New York and I needed a hat. And back then they didn't have Met colors Met hats in all these flavors now. So that part I get. But as soon as they start coming out with flavors of the Mets, no more Yankee hat. I just want a black on black. Sue me. This is like 20 years ago. Get over it. Anyway, same thing with football. Football. Okay. Football is a little bit more nuanced. Nobody in your division, because your division is division rivals. So, I'm a Jets fan. I hate Miami. I hate New England. And I don't particularly like Buffalo. But, back in the day, about 30 years ago, I lived in Buffalo. I was about 10 years old. I rooted for the Buffalo Bills. Because if you lived in Buffalo, probably even now to this day, if you lived in Buffalo, guess what? Even when you went to church on a Bills Sunday, playoff Sunday, they cut service early. When they got to the benediction, Amen. Go Bills! So I rooted for the Bills against everybody except against my Jets. Because listen, they were just stuck, but still, I was focused. I was focused on my Jets. Now, I will say, this to me, there's not really a rivalry per se with the Jets and the Giants. When they get in the playoffs, when the Giants won their 2 Super Bowls in the in the aughts, right? 2007, 2010, okay, 86, 90. I was rooting for the town, New York Giants. I'm not saying I was a New York Giants fan, but I was rooting for. Listen, New York versus everybody. I'd rather it be New York than anybody else. Yes, David Tyre. Somebody needs to still investigate his hands, but regardless. Oh, you know what? I know why that's so near and dear to your heart, Mr. Blanken. Not only was it the New York Giants, which has a connection to the fam, but it was actually caught in the lovely state of Arizona, specifically the city of Glendale, Arizona. So I guess you want to have some credit, take some credit with being there for the immaculate reception. Part 2. I bet. Yes, yes, yes. I am an encyclopedia. I'm an encyclopedia of knowledge and an encyclopedia of potpourri, or should I say potpourri or BS, the whole nine. But neither here nor there. But Blanken. Hold on, is there truly a Blanken Ave? I generally want to know. You know, um, I'm eagerly awaiting your response. Blanken Ave. Hmm. Oh, okay. Okay. I can already say I'm like Blanken Ave. Shoot, that's crazy. That's crazy. Probably after my 5 years of service is done in the city, at the job that I'm at, the location that I work at will probably be renamed Mike Steph Parkway. Yeah, Mike Steph Parkway. And they'll probably want to know why one of the signs have been replaced with said name, that's legit name, and replaced with a man-made, a homemade sign that says Mike Steph Parkway. Just because I'm going to leave my mark in this world. I've already left my mark in this world. Some would say I used to, back in the days, not so much anymore because I have class. I stepped it up a level. But some would say back in the days, I was the type to make sure that I would leave my scent. And people would be like, leave your scent? Like, yeah, leave my scent. Like dogs leave their scent and make sure they mark their territory. That's how this guy used to be. You knew I was around. Not because I had such a strong scent, which I did back in the day. I'm talking about um, puberty. You know, like I'm gonna take y'all back because at this point in time, I have no filter and I could care less. I'm 49, about to be 50. I have a beautiful wife. I have wonderful children. I have wonderful grandchildren. So it doesn't matter, especially what happened 40 years ago. But now, back in the day, it's still out now. But back in the day, they used to have the deodorant called Mitchum, right? It wasn't Mitchum for men. It was just Mitchum. It was in the green label, right? Mitchum, right? And I didn't even realize back in the day that Mitchum was actually a woman's deodorant because the whole slogan was strong enough for a man, but pH balance for a woman. Okay, but my mother, love you, mom. My mother swore by Mitchum. So when I got to the age that I saw I needed, start smelling myself, literally, even though I have no sense of smell, but that's neither here nor there. My mother said, you know what? You're gonna put some Mitchum on because guess what? It's strong enough for a man. You're not a man yet. You're a budding man, so it's strong enough for you. So she would put the roll on, and you have all the, almost like look like dry sweat, whatever. So put it on, right? And once again, I have no sense of smell. I grew up in a house full of cigarette smokers, so I couldn't smell. My sense of smell is done. So long story short, because I'm like I said, I'm just babbling on right now, because like why not? Long story short, I get to an age where the Mitchum is no longer working, but I am the last to know. And do you do you know how much it hurts to, let's say, be in a gathering with your so-called friends, right, at the time, and y'all in the bus, and it's May, June, so it's a little sticky out there, a little humid out there, and you hear your friend snickering in the back, yo, somebody kicking. Yo, it's that nigga Mike. The horror, the horror that was in my eyes, the horror that was in my ears. Like, what you mean? Yo, it's that nigga Mike. Oh, wow. Not only that, y'all my friends. You think I would be offended? Let a nigga know he stink. It wasn't like I was a dirty dude. It was just, I had a strong scent. So, so fast forward. I'm trying all different types of things. I'm trying speed stick, slow down. Right guard went left, the whole nine. Mitchum, that's when they start coming out with Mitchum for men. And then a little known fact is later on, way past my formative years, they had clinical strength Mitchum, which is crazy. But it worked. Not for me, but it worked. Clinical strength Mitchum is crazy. The fact that you need to make clinical strength for somebody's bi- biochemical odor, it's ridiculous. But it's true. So we fast forward. I even got to the point, listen, a nigga was so broke. Matter of fact, a dude was so poor, as my grandma would say, we couldn't afford, we wasn't poor, we was po. P-O, po. Because we couldn't afford the O-R. And I was like, I thought we was middle class poor. Like no, I thought we was upper poor. You know how you have upper class and lower class? Upper class, lower class, middle class? I thought we was upper poor. And little did I know, I guess we was po. Po to the point that, yeah, and this is some ish that if you're not on this live, so be it. Cause you'll probably never hear me see this again, cause I really don't care. There was a time that, baking soda has a lot of different uses. Some would say, okay, you got baking soda that, of course, you use for baking. Or no, it's baking powder, my bad. Eh, you got baking soda that you can, make little fake volcanoes with. And then you got baking soda that, you know, you put in the refrigerator and it's supposed to be deodorizes and scent in which way freshens the air of the refrigerator, right? Got all different types of uses. I'm going to give you two uses you never thought they would happen. One, they actually brand. Before they came out with baking soda toothpaste, did you know that you can actually use baking soda to brush your teeth? Yeah, yeah, yes, you can. It's not highly recommended. Tastes like crap, but it is good to brush your teeth. It gets them white and doesn't really do anything about the smell, but it gets them white. And at the same time, it cleans your teeth. Also erodes your teeth, but whatever. But here's the other use of baking soda. I'm quite sure nobody realized, even though they should, because they actually have Arm& Hammer deodorant in all different flavors, all different sizes, all different scents, and that's my go-to. I've been using Arm& Hammer deodorant for 30 years, and I haven't had a problem since. But prior to that, do you know that you could actually put baking soda in your hand and just get a little dash of water, rub it in, and that was like the cheapest deodorant you could ever have? Listen, growing up in the 80s, that might be just a simple question. Um, Soy, ask, where do I live? Where do you live? When you talk about where do I live, you talk about country, you talk about city, you talk about state. Specify what you ask, and I will answer it. But I'm not divulging any information just for a random "Where do you live?" What are you trying to say? I'm which one? I was living like a third world country. Well, just how, dude. What city? Okay, New York City. New York City. Somewhere in the New York City. That's where I live. Shoot. No, no, no. But no, listen. Like I said, I can't. I'm a '70s baby, right? So, these were things that these were happenstance that end up happening, that you end up going through it. I can look back and I can say that, or I can quote unquote reminisce over stuff like that because it made me the person that I am. Like there was a time that I bet you don't even know what a washboard is, right? Washboard, we're taking it back, but there was actually a wooden board with like crinkles in it, either made of glass or metal, and literally you use that to hand wash your clothes. I've had to do that when I was younger, you know. Um, Not bragging, but I'm not ashamed of it either. Like I said, it builds character, you know. So I swear, I feel like I'm Mikhail Bridges doing way too TMI, giving way too much information. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Um, but yeah, these are things that you had to do. You know, you had to survive by any means necessary. We are the nation, a domination. But no, you had to. These are things that you had to do. Um, I mean, it's partly why, and like I said, I'm going on so many darn tangents, but like it is what it is. Like if I'm gonna go live, this is what y'all gonna get. Because we gotta have the beginning topic, and then I'm just gonna go someplace else. Because what's the point of going live if I'm not just going to ramble, right? But anyway, um, I guess he's like New York City is good enough for me. All right, soy. um, Listen, I answer everybody. Unless I think you're a bot. If I think you're a bot, I've grown enough to know just leave the bots alone. Just leave the bots alone, because like for what? But this is like I used to I come from the era of surf sandwiches. And people are like surf sandwiches. Yeah, surf sandwiches. Surf sandwiches. Little do you know, French toast is just a fancy surf sandwich. If you think about it, who told you to get a piece of bread, put some egg in it? I mean, whip up some egg, put a little dash of milk and some cinnamon, and sop the egg up and then fry it. I mean, sop the bread up then fry it. Why go through all that? The only reason French toast tastes good is because of the syrup. So if I could just get a piece of bread and just drizzle some syrup on it and eat it, it's best. How about chicken franks? Anybody ever had a chicken frank? Anybody had a turkey frank? Listen, I had chicken franks before they were popular. Back in '85. Yo, I was having chicken franks in '85. '86. Watching WrestleMania 2. Eating chicken franks cold. And that's the bottom line. Come on, chicken frank said so. Does anybody remember having having them having their parent make them warm milk with sugar to put them to sleep? I know you wonder, like, sugar that's gonna put you. I don't know, something about the hormones of the milk. Which is, I swear, you would sip it and you had that little milk mustache, and you were just like, I swear, you was looking like you should have been on the corner of the wire. You were just like, listen, listen, listen. Um, ketchup sandwiches. Ketchup sandwiches was a thing. Ketchup and mustard sandwiches was a thing. You know, I'm still partial to baked beans and rice. I remember one time I made some baked beans and rice the other day. I mean, not the other day, but recently. And my daughter looked at me. She was like, "Dad, why you eating a struggle meal?" I was like, "What do you mean a struggle meal?" Yeah, we don't have to do that anymore. I was like, "I know we don't have to do it anymore, but I like it." I just classied it up. Instead of having baked beans and rice, I had baked beans with jasmine rice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But these are things that make that build character. I really think that the world would probably be in a better place. Society would be in a better place if people had more struggle. And I'm not talking about struggle as in like not knowing where your next meal is coming from, which in some ways, but being having ingenuity to make sure that, all right, you got some stuff in the house, put it together, make a meal. Might not be the meal that you want, but it'll be the meal that you need. More to grow. One to what? The more you know, the more you grow. Dun, 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 dun. I swear, I'm bugging. I'm bugging right now. Um, I should probably just get out of here. I don't know why. I just keep on trying to think of more things to talk about. Tyler, like I'm out. That's a sign. That's a sign of Mike. Be out. Listen, I thought he was doing the Jalen Brunson. See how we bring it full circle back to the Knicks? Yeah. Anyway, no, I'm gonna get out of here because I really don't try. I mean, listen, I'm talking to myself. So everyone, please give me a comment, give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me a subscription, press the notification button, whatever, whatever. I at this point in time, I really don't care. To be perfectly blunt, the reason why I came on live today, well tonight, because I had this grandiose idea that I'm gonna go live tonight. I'm watching all these pundits, which go a cow with their tail between their legs, and I'm like, I'm gonna go live tonight. I'm gonna go live tonight, right? And then I made, I put it out, promote it, like, listen, I'm gonna go live. It's been a week. Let's talk about the Knicks, da 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 da. And then as the time came by, I was like, I'm tired. I got off work. I'm like, yo, I'm tired. But at the same time, I don't false advertise. So I'm gonna put this out there, right? Whoever rock with me, rock with me. Whoever don't. Doesn't really matter. That's why I came on live tonight. Because within the first 5 minutes, I realized I really didn't want to talk. So that's why for the last 15, 20 minutes, I've been talking about struggle. The struggle. The ghetto. Nobody's smiling. The ghetto. Nobody's smiling. Ghetto. Anybody remember that? I think it was Rakim. The ghetto. Nobody. Did anybody remember King's Son? I got the power. No, the original. I got the power. No, 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 no. No, it wasn't. It wasn't King's Son. Darn. It was I think it was Chill Rob G. Chill Rob G had the power, and then you had Snap with the power. But Chill Rob G was the street version of the power, and I think Snap stole the power from Chill Rob G. Just like CNC Music Factory. Make your body move. Make your body move. Make your body move. You know what? I'm making a fool of myself. I'm gonna get out of here. So, catch me on the replay. I know the people that's probably gonna listen to this or watch this. Well, watch this. I ain't making no audio version of this. The people that's gonna watch this with the thumbnail, and then if they happen to, by chance, to get about halfway into it and realize I done gone all the way left, it's almost like what they call that? Easter egg. Yeah. Remember how you used to have Easter eggs in DVDs and Easter eggs in CDs? That I just realized, thanks to Bootleg Kev, that Welcome to Atlanta was an Easter egg at the end of, I think, Word of Mouth by Ludacris. Which I never thought. And go figure. The Easter egg ended up becoming one of the biggest songs of Ludacris ever. Whatever happened to Ludacris? Do y'all believe what happened? Y'all believe what Cat Williams said, that one of them had to cut their hair and they would get the world, the other one would get whatever, and Ludacris was the one that cut his hair? And that might explain why Ludacris ended up being... all right. Yep. Time to go. Time to go. So I will see y'all. When I see y'all, please, like I said, press the notification button. I think the next time y'all will probably see me, I'll actually have a formal podcast episode. I do have one idea that's in the tuck, chronicling the last 27 years of the Knicks. But I don't know. This is coming the time of the year that when I do podcasts, I just really interview or do whatever I want or just talk out my wazoo or you know what, like I'm doing right now. So I'm gonna get out of here. I'll holler at y'all later. Appreciate everybody who has joined in. Appreciate the people that gave me the thumbs up. Thumbs up. And I get out of here. Oh, number 6. I guess you too late. I've been rocking for an hour and a half. Well, hour and change. And now all of a sudden people want to start coming in. Like, come on, come on. That see, that's the drug. That's the drug of choice. Is more and more viewers, more and more viewers. But I think at this point in time, I'm gonna cut myself off. I'm gonna cut myself off, and I'm gonna watch myself some Invincible. Matter of fact, yeah, you thought I was gonna go on another tangent. No, I'm not. I'm cutting this off, and I'm gonna watch some Invincible season 4 and see what Mark and Nolan are gonna get themselves into next. Amazon Prime. So, Amazon, cut me that check. I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.